This whole month we're exploring interpersonal, bringing Buddhist practices to interpersonal interactions, which would explain why the attendance has gotten lighter and lighter each week. Yeah, it would seem there's a trend, which is fair. So, but yeah, just one thing I'm just hearing is balance, right? And that's going to be a big thing that we're going to explore today. How to be honest, be truthful, but more than that, right? Like also be kind and be aware of timing and so many other things in speaking. But we'll start with our meditation. We're just going to do like a 10-minute sit, and then I'll share some thoughts. Then we'll break into little dyads again and do just practice talking to each other. Yeah. So let's sit and we'll explore some themes in the meditation. So just finding any way to sit that feels good for you. And finding that balance of awake, aware, present, but also relaxed. And we'll start with the sound of the bell. Let's take it a few longer, slower, deeper breaths if that feels good for you. Starting to tune in to this body as it is on a Tuesday evening. And as you feel ready, letting go of any control over the breath. And just letting the body breathe however it needs or wants to breathe right now. And trusting in that. Setting down any pressure in the mind, any need to perform, be a meditator, having to be anyone at all, and just allowing yourself to drop deep into this body as it is, to the nervous system as it is right now. Staying with the rhythm of the breath if that feels like a good anchor for you. Maybe noticing where it's most predominant. And softening, noticing, starting at the top of the head, if there's any holding or tension in the forehead or the eyes, or the muscles of the brain. The jaw, the throat, the neck. Relaxing the shoulders, maybe allowing the shoulder blades to just come together a little bit, which can open up the chest so this whole front of the body can breathe a little easier. Noticing the full length of the breath, all the way from the tip of the nose to the belly, lower belly. We have this upright posture for those of you that are upright, and then this soft front. So allowing that chest, stomach, belly just to really be relaxed. And allowing whatever's there to just breathe with it. Feeling the weight of the arms and the hands. All the way down through the legs. So sensing that contact with the cushion. And sensing into the upper legs. down through the shins and the calves, feet, toes. Really breathing into the lower half of the body and feeling rooted, grounded, connected. And bringing the awareness to the whole body. We're going to invite in some memories here. Staying with the breath. And bringing to mind a situation maybe where you wanted to speak honestly but held back, refrained. Or maybe where you did speak but felt uneasy afterward. No need to think too hard about it, just whatever comes to mind. And as you bring that memory into the mind's eye, noticing what's happening in the body. Remembering maybe some of the details or the nuance of the experience. And also noticing how the nervous system responds to even just the memory of the experience. And then with the same memory, imagine pausing in the circumstance, taking a moment, breathing deeply, and feeling grounded before sharing and speaking. So same moment, same memory, but taking that moment, taking that pause. What would it feel like to slow down, stop for a minute, breathe deeply, relax, and sense into what it might feel like to speak from both honesty and kindness in that moment. Kind of rewiring the memory in a way. And noticing any shift, again, somatic awareness in the body. Noticing any changes. And then just letting any of the images or the memories fade away. And just coming back to the breath. Letting the thinking mind again fall to the background, and the body and the breath come to the foreground again. Spend just another minute or two here in silence, practicing whatever way feels suitable for you. Just taking a few more breaths and taking in a sense of gratitude to be here in this kind of intimate community today. And sharing any goodness from this simple practice. May it be of benefit for ourselves, for our community. And may it contribute to the sanity of this world. So thank you for your practice. There's our mouse. Anyone hear it? That little pitter patter. So words have, on one hand, kind of a limited capacity to express the full range of human experience. I don't know if you've ever come across this yourself. Can never quite capture the complexity or the beauty of life. I often notice this like in coming home from a meditation retreat. How was the meditation retreat? And it's like trying to describe a meditation experience just makes you sound like you were on drugs, more or less. You know, people are like, okay. And then eventually I usually just give up and I'm like, never mind. I was feeling the whole world. Everything was so beautiful. But on the other hand, words are so important, immensely important. And just considering for yourself, like how many times have the words of another really had like a huge impact on you in a deep way? Or have your words impacted someone else in a positive way, in a negative way? Play such a big central role in human life. And so this seeming kind of dichotomy, limited capacity, immensely important, speaks to the importance of practicing speaking truth, developing a practice of speaking truly. And so the approach, the insight approach that I want to reflect on a little bit today is, on one hand, not just blunt honesty or just saying it exactly like it is. And on the other hand, not also people-pleasing, but finding that middle ground that can have some wisdom, some compassion, some kindness, some mindfulness to it. And that's aligned with values too. And that's something, in hearing people speak earlier, that comes, it seems, with practice. It doesn't necessarily come naturally for everyone. So the Buddha called this wise speech, one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, and attributed 4 qualities to wise speech, which I really love. Truthfulness, benefit, kindness, and timeliness. So again, 2,500 years old, but pretty good things to consider when speaking. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I think it's important to think about what holds that back sometimes. I know for myself, being honest, speaking from the heart can be scary in any form, whether it's an intimate conversation, public speaking, whatever form that takes. Fear of rejection, conflict, hurting someone, saying the wrong thing, so many things the mind can kick up and be afraid of. And then I also find for myself that often it's just murky. Like I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to say or what it is that I'm experiencing. That for me is a really big common barrier where it's difficult to put words to what it is that I'm trying to actually say. And so considering for yourself, maybe what are some of the things that hold you back from being honest and speaking truth? Because on the other hand, truth-telling can bring such a deep relief, clarity, strengthen the connection of relationships, really something so foundationally important to all interpersonal relationships across the board. And it's a liberative practice and frees us from the burden of hiding or pretending or falsity. In the psychology terminology, sometimes they talk about moving from incongruency to congruency, being congruent. And yeah, this being like a hallmark of healthy communication. So some of the common but often subconscious blocks, as I kind of mentioned, wanting to be liked, fear of judgment, protecting ourselves or others. So how can mindfulness, how can meditation be supportive? I think two major ways is somatic connection, being tuned into the body, being aware of what's happening internally. So something in meditation can be deeply helpful, of just having an awareness of the internal world. And then also developing wisdom about how, when to speak, which we'll get into. So this internal knowing is something, those of you that come to this group know it's really central to this style of practice that we're doing here. Vipassana or insight meditation, really deeply about not just the mind, but really embedding the awareness in the body. So this listening, the knowing, the softening, the allowing, and it really helps develop a healthy relationship with this whole internal world that's happening beneath the surface day after day after day. So the idea is that not just when we're sitting and meditating, but also that this internal or somatic connection can also translate into everyday interactions. So we can be in touch with our experience of reality, of truth as it's happening, and particularly the feeling, the sensing, the emotions, that whole aspect of human experience. And the idea being that when there's mindfulness present, when we are tuned in, it's possible to be curious about what's happening rather than reactive, right? Like something like anger, which can be so strong and so easy to react from that place. When there's mindfulness present, it's like, okay, let me look into this. What is happening? Something big happening in my nervous system. What is it? Is this trauma? Am I hurt? Am I feeling hurt by what someone said? And is there something that I need to say in this moment, right? This is an important pivot point. There's this internal awareness, and then how using mindfulness to be aware of what's happening. And is this a moment where I maybe need to speak? Is there a truth or something I need to say? I don't know if anyone knows what that feels like in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of the day, where it's just you're presenting a particular way, but then there's something happening internally where it just starts feeling like it's bottling up or exploding. And sometimes there's a lot of ways of working with that. And so I think being aware of that is how we overcome people-pleasing and bottling up emotions. And so the other part of where I think Buddhist teachings, meditation can be helpful is bringing wisdom to how and what we speak. And so the Buddha called the four gatekeepers of speech. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it timely? And is it kind? And I really, the first time I heard that, really appreciated this kind of balanced approach of not just saying everything that's true. It's not always the best approach. A part of it, for sure, and an important thing to examine. Is this something that's true from my own experience or something that I know happened? And of course, emotions and feelings are valid and true and important to express, although difficult at times. Is it necessary? Does it serve a purpose or a need? Or am I just talking because I'm uncomfortable? I don't know if anyone else does that. This is one of the most common things to hear on an elevator. So many situations, it's like, we're just talking about absolutely nothing because we're both uncomfortable, and that's okay. But, looking at that in so many maybe important conversations, or when it really comes down to speaking truth, is what I'm about to say, is it meaningful and important? And that's not to belittle, what we have to say either, but just as something to consider. And then, is it timely? Which I think is an important one. Sometimes it may be true, it may be absolutely necessary, and this is not the right time to say it, right? I'm in a conversation with someone, they're speaking deeply about their own pain. Maybe this is not the time for me to bring up why I'm mad at them or something like that, right? Maybe that can be real, but maybe I press pause on that and make sure that part gets recognized later and I come back to it. And then finally, is it kind? So is it rooted in care, not harm? Really important. And I think one of the things that can really ruin relationships, both romantic and platonic relationships, is just when things get cruel in so many different ways. I don't know. Some of you may be familiar with what Gottman's Four Horsemen of what he said were key things to look for, which leading to the end of relationships: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And I think in the studies that him and his research team did, contempt was one of the absolute hallmarks when things just get mean or nasty or sarcastic or cruel. So I think it's an important thing to consider, even if it is true. Not always helpful if it's said in a way that's like vicious or unkind. So yeah, in general, balance. The Buddha taught that speech should be both truthful and beneficial. And in the Abhaya Sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya said, even if it's hard to hear, it's offered at the right time and with compassion. So I appreciate that the importance of, if something is true and it's beneficial, even if it is hard to hear, finding the right time and finding how to do that in a compassionate way. And I don't know if anyone's come across moments like that in their life where you've had to do that, but how much that can also clear the heart, clear the air, and also improve the quality of relationship dynamics, to have things out and open and honest. So important. So we're going to practice with this a little bit. Yeah, and the invitation is just going to be to explore. It's going to be really simple, but what it feels like to say something that's honest, truthful, whether it's easy or whether it's hard, and then also to practice some of the other stuff we've been doing, which pausing, listening deeply, all these other awkward, beautiful things that we've been doing this month. Okay. So we're going to go into dyads, but I'll break it down what we're going to do first. We're going to pair up. One person's going to speak. The other person's going to listen. Speaker will have 3 minutes. We're going to do a pause again halfway through it. Just take a 10-second pause. Bring the awareness to the body, to the breath. And then we'll switch roles after the 3 minutes. We'll have a different prompt. Yeah. Does that make sense? One person's talking, one person's listening. Yeah. Why don't we just do two? Is that cool with everyone? Yeah. Okay. We'll keep it simple. So that's fair. That's your friend. If you don't want to talk to your friend, I fully appreciate that. Okay. For the first person is going to say, what is it hard for you to say in your relationships? The other person is just going to listen. So obviously this is a practice in honesty, and maybe you want to think about some of the things that we had mentioned, right? Is it true? Am I saying, is it necessary? Don't stress yourself out about this. Is this the right time to say this? Is it kind, etc.? None of those might not even be that relevant to this. So yeah, we'll start, and then we'll pause halfway through with the bell. I'll let you know. Other person's turn now. And the prompt is going to be, when you have spoken a difficult truth, assuming you have done that at some point in your life, what helped you and what was that experience like to do that? So a moment where you've had to say something that was true, difficult to say. What helped you say that? And then, what did that feel like to do that? Just taking one final pause. Really tuning in one last time, just noticing what's coming up. Taking another deep breath or two. And then let's just bow out to our partners. And let's come on back to the group.